Welcome to the Pit Life Barbecue Podcast. Join us around the pit as we talk all things barbecue. Now here is your host, Johnny Maggs.
Oh, well, the hell with the intro. What's up, everybody? Apparently there's some internet. There it goes. Technical difficulties on my end, as always. But what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Life Barbecue Podcast, episode 411, coming to you live from the Uncle Steve Shake Studios in Center Bondstead, New Hampshire. It's the podcast where we talk barbecue and a lot of other things that we normally talk around the pit. Happy Monday, everybody. Like we say, you can't stop barbecuing the week off unless you start on Monday. So here we go. Thank you all for tuning in, joining me once again. We got Daddy Dutch, Tom. Jeez, okay, that's done. Damn it. You think after 410 of these, I'd be able to figure this crap out. Oh, anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Let's get to it before the goblins come and grab me again. Tonight's episode brought to you by Uncle Steve Shake. What can I say, folks? Uncle Steve, his passion for barbecue and seasonings in particular are off the charts. He wears all the hats, literally. He's mixing, shake, bottling, packaging, labeling, shipping. He's answering the phones. He's answering the emails. He's taking the orders. He might even reach out to you if he has a question on your order because he wants it to be absolutely perfect for you. Always he harps on freshness. Always the freshest ingredients. Nothing's ever sitting around on shelves for time and time on end. If you order today, your order will be mixed probably within the next day or two. So once it reaches your doorstep, it is the freshest product you can get. From the original Gator Shake, the competition line, Magic Ribs, Dessert Shake, list goes on and on. Check him out at UncleStevesShake.com. Also follow along on Facebook at Uncle Steve Shake Nation, Uncle Steve Shake. Shake some on everything. Also brought to you by Joe's Meat Market, the Diamond of Royce City, Texas. Gabriel and his crew do an amazing job. Always the highest grade and quality of proteins available to him. Fresh produce brought in daily. For us competition and backyard guys, he's got us covered too. Multiple lines of rubs, seasonings, sauces, injections, marinades. Now an official Nomad Grill dealer. So he's got the Nomad Grills, the Nomad Charcoal, the Nomad Fire Sticks. One-stop shop. And, when we are shopping, sometimes we get a little hungry going through the aisles. Gabriel's got us covered too. Gabriel's mom is behind the counter whipping up some of the most freshest, authentic cuisine out there. So swing on in, grab a bowl, grab a plate, sit down with the boys, make a new friend in barbecue, and just leave the worries of the world outside. And like I said, if you're ever in the Royce City area, swing on by, tell Gabriel and the crew I sent you. Remember, folks, Joe's Meat Market or the win. Oh, these boys are killing me. These guys with the text messages is what's throwing my crap off. I'll guarantee it. I warn them every week. But last and not least, today is brought to you by the Champions Barbecue Alliance. The 2026 Road to Barbecue Greatness runs through New England this season and beyond. The New England Triple Crown is back for year 2 and bringing the next battle for the belt buckle with it. Introducing the 2026 Uncle Steve Shake New England Triple Crown, sanctioned by the Champions Barbecue Alliance. 3 competitions, 3 states, 1 champion. This isn't a one weekend win. It's a season-long battle for consistency and barbecue fire. If you want the crown, you've got to run through the gauntlet. 7 Maples Smoke Showdown in New Hampshire. Vermont Vines Vineyard in Rockingham, Vermont. The Camp Harkness Beachside Smoke Showdown in Waterford, Connecticut. Show up and show out with your best chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket. Jackpots and unique opportunities, including Loaded Bloody Mary, Future of Q, and Women of Q events this year is bound to be fire. Only one team will stand at the end, New England Triple Crown champion. Registration is open. Step up and show out, powered by Uncle Steve Shake. Also, folks, if you're interested in the New Hampshire contest, first week in June, there is 8, I repeat, 8 spots left. So jump on that and come on, let's have some fun. Oh, but guys, there's Joe Gabriel, Joe's Meat Market. What's happening? NBL, what's going on? Oh, guys, I'm excited tonight. I always love having new guests, learning this about them, learning their story and their journey and barbecue and everything that has to do with it. But as we also know, my dirty little secret, I love cookbooks. And tonight's guest is both someone I want to learn the whole story and has an incredible cookbook from the beginners to the seasoned veteran in not just barbecue, culinary in general. We're going to get into it, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is a must order for sure. And we will explain why. But without any further ado and me rambling on, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brad Baych of Barbecue Wizard. Brad, thank you so much for taking the time to join me this evening.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yep. And as we were talking briefly just off air, there's a couple gentlemen that we have acquaintances we have in common. The one and the only the Hungry Hussy himself, Matt Hussey. And I know Daddy Dutch might know this gentleman, but there was this guy from California cooking with ZJ, PJ, cooking with CJ. He'll call me right after this, going, get my name right. Yeah. But no, small world, brother. The Hussey and brother CJ. That's awesome.
We kind of connected just over, making videos and doing stuff on YouTube and other things. So it's been fun to get to know those guys.
No, they're two great guys, both full of knowledge. Awesome. So, Brad, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I appreciate you for that. And for anybody who, please introduce yourself. Give us a little background of you personally, and then how you got into, the butcher world.
Yeah, so I've always been in food, and I've always, since I was 16 years old, I've never had any other kind of job. So I've worked restaurants, hotels, grocery stores, butcher shops. I've pretty much done it all in the food world. And basically, when we moved to South Carolina, I became a stay-at-home dad for a little bit, and then I wanted to get my feet wet back into teaching because I used to teach culinary school. And I was like, maybe I'll do it on YouTube. That's something I can do from home, and we'll just have some fun with it. And my 8th video ever so I started the Butcher Wizard YouTube channel, and then my 8th video ever did a million views in 4 days, and it was a crazy experience. It just blew up, and so I just continued to make other videos, and just kind of the rest is history. We're sitting at 330 or 340,000 subscribers, and still just pumping out videos about how to cut meat, how to save money on meat, just every different thing you can think of. As far as meat is concerned, and it's been great, and people love it. People love to watch it, so I'll keep making them.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and it's funny you said you had the education background because it shows in your videos. You're very clear and concise on what you're trying to put forth, and also the way you do it. It's very easy to understand, easy to follow along. So you can see your background in on the educational side on that. So all your videos, they're educational, they're informative, but they're also entertaining and fun.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
You hit all aspects of it. So yeah, that's amazing. Like I said, I've been watching the videos now, and we'll get into a couple of them.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things I wanted to do with the channel when I was kind of deciding what I wanted to talk about. Is I found that a lot of the videos, when you search like how to break down a ribeye, there was a lot of older videos, a lot of people who are just kind of doing almost instructionals. And I really wanted to, like you're saying, I really wanted to make it fun and just be like you're hanging. I want everybody to feel like they're just hanging out in my kitchen. That's why I do everything in my kitchen. I'm sitting here now, and it's just like you're coming over, hanging out for a little bit, and we're having a good time.
No, absolutely, absolutely. No, it's great, and first off, another thing, thank you for doing what you do. Because, like I said, I've been checking the videos out, and like I said, so informative. So easy to follow along with what you're doing, and you're very clear on some of the things you're talking about. Going, listen, folks, nothing kind of, and I'm my own words. Excuse me. I'm not questioning your ability, but this might not be one to jump right into. Because you're breaking down primals and subprimals, getting the different cuts out there, and you do have to have some skill involved, a little knowledge of muscle structures, and what to look for into following seams and all that. But you have no problem going, listen, you'll get there. Okay. But don't get frustrated. Even if you do screw it up, it's still going to taste good.
We still got dinner.
Still got dinner. No, absolutely. And what I like even more, and especially in the times we're going through right now, like I said, you emphasize on breaking down the primals and subprimals. And in the long run, it's cheaper. It's more affordable to buy the primal and break it down yourself. Yes, you're going to have some sweat equity into it and going to have to do some work. But in the end, you see the bill. So, you get a, $150 primal, call, rib roast. Okay. And you're breaking it down into the steaks. Mm-hmm. Now you take a price at the grocery store of what that steak cost and what that primal cost, and you're at night and day. So what you're doing on that aspect, and like I said, and it jumps to the head of the line, with everything in the meat costs of today. So that is fantastic. And in a lot of the videos you break down the I believe it's called the wizard math or the butcher's math,
butcher math.
And you break it down and literally put it in front of people. Okay, this is what it is, and it took me X amount of time, but in the end, I say you saved this much monetarily, and and you're getting more for your dollar. And so, thank you for that. And thank you for being able to put it out there easily for people to understand and actually visually see the difference. Because some people listen or, understand by listening. Some people need to see it. So you have it both ways. So, like you said, you've been in the industry for years. Now, did anything lead you to going down that road? Uh, especially in the butcher thing. My grandfather. You hear the old. My grandfather was a butcher. My father was a butcher. I'm a butcher. Is there any of that going on, or is just the culinary thing you found interest in and decided to roll down that road?
Yeah, so it's my first job ever was when I turned 16. I all my friends were getting jobs. I went down to the local grocery store, like everyone did, and was going to go sack groceries. That's what my friends did. Well, they weren't hiring at the time; they were all full. So I went down, kept on driving down the street, and then there was a new place opening that they made soup and salad. That was it was a salad bar, and they had soup bar. And I was like, okay, they're hiring. I'll just go in and see. I got hired on the spot, and they just kind of threw me in the kitchen. Like, hey, you can go. It was a brand new place, so everyone was getting hired and just thrown in different places. And I was put in the kitchen, and I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I like the speed of it. I like the following a plan, a recipe, just the procedure of making stuff, a large amount of things. I just found it. I just fell in love with it and just continued on that path. So I went from there to I was like, I want to kind of test this out. So I went to like a fine dining steakhouse. I got a job that I probably shouldn't have gotten. Wasn't experienced enough for, but got in there, worked through it. And that steakhouse was kind of where I was like falling in love with meat butchery, because they broke down ribeyes and strips and tenderloins and all that stuff. So I would come in on my off days or off times and watch the prep cook. He would clean everything. So he would do all of the butchery work first. And I just was like, I was watching for a little bit, and then I was like, can I help you? And he's like, sure, I'll show you how to do it. And then I ended up kind of doing that on my off time too, where I would take over when he was on vacation or something like that. And then, it just kind of all just snowballed like that. And when I went to culinary school, it was fascinating to me. The muscle structures, how to break down different animals, and in culinary school, they don't really give you it's a little bit of knowledge about a lot of different subjects. So you never really got to deep dive in anything. But then, I came back and when I taught culinary school years later, I was like, okay, hey, we're back to this. And that was one of the classes that I taught. And that was a lot of fun, and it kind of reignited that. I mean, it just kind of like one step leads to another, and you end up like, what do I want to talk about? Well, I like meat and I like to cut meat, so why not? Why don't when the YouTube thing came along, I'm like, hey, I'll just that's what I'll talk about. So I mean, it's just kind of like one thing. It's like everybody's career, right? One thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jeff Costa, Waypoint Barbecue. What's up, brother? Big Rome in the house. What's up, brother? Call you out. All right. We have a young listener, viewer, probably the youngest that we've ever had. He's been listening since he was like 11. Just turned 18 this past January, but he always sends me a question every week. So this one's kind of different points. So we'll ask it now because a couple of the points we're going to get to. So we'll just roll with it right off the bat. Johnny, my question for the guest this evening is, as a butcher, what is the most exotic meat you've ever cut and or cooked? And can you please give some advice to new folks that want to start shopping at like a Costco, but do not know what the best deals to look for are, and what would be the best way to spend your money purchasing meat?
Okay, yeah. So as far as exotic animals I've cooked I'd say the most exotic is maybe like I've cooked elk and deer, venison, things like that. I'm not a hunter myself, but you make friends with some hunters, and you end up with some bags of stuff that's been good. So I would say, like, as far as beef goes, like I love beef tongue. That's one of the things that is kind of undervalued. People think it's weird, but it is a delicious cut of meat if it's cooked long enough, and it's braisable and shreddable. And so that's kind of on the exotic side, as exotic as I get, I guess.
Okay.
And as far as the Costco, how to go about planning your Costco trip, or how you're going to make the dollar stretch. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it is all about doing a little bit of the work yourself. Costco already has great prices from compared to the grocery store. We kind of hit on that earlier, but like, if you can do a little bit of the work yourself, it's really beneficial, and it's more cost up front. Because again, so like in my area, like a whole ribeye, you're looking at probably like $250 or so, and it varies from places across the country. But when you are able to cut it and then package it so it lasts a long time, you just have steaks forever, and you're going to save a ton of money that way. So some of the cuts to look out for, if you're not like the easiest ones are the strip and the ribeye, because basically what we're taking is the whole thing and just cutting steaks out of it. There's very little trim to do, and it's very straightforward. But as far as the value is concerned, if you're going to cut your own, learning how to do the chuck roll, which is one of the more complicated cuts, there's just it's complicated in a way that if you want to get the most out of it and get all the cuts that are in there, it's going to take a little bit of practice. But again, Costco also has like they have, I think a lot of grocery stores are doing this too, where they're having a lot more value cuts than they used to, just because the prices are going up. So you'll find a flat iron steak, which are great. You'll find what are some other ones that I enjoy over there? Picanhas are really good, and those are really popular, but those are still pretty cheap. So things like that, where it's like, look for some of those not so popular cuts. And that's also a way to save a little bit of money.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, with staying on the steaks for a moment now, with your experience, now you go to the stores, whether it's through your local grocery store or Costco, BJ's, Sam's Club, things like that. You know, and you're going through all the steaks, you know, they're all kind of cut different thickness. In your years of experience, is there, I suppose, do you think a perfect thickness that you might want to look for?
Yeah, I think so. What I've always done is 1.25 inches for like ribeyes and strips, things like that. Just those simple ones are just 1.25 inches is kind of like it's kind of the standard I've seen. Again, some are cut better than others. You know, the butcher and meat cutter world is, you know, a lot of grocery stores are just lucky to have anyone back there. So sometimes it can get a little wonky. I've also find now too, as we're talking about, as prices go up, a lot of grocery stores are making the steaks thinner so that they can still put 2 ribeyes in a package, but that doesn't weigh as much, so that on that tag, it doesn't say a crazy price. Like if it says $50 on there, less people are going to want to buy that, because most people buy their meat by the sticker first, look at the price first, and then back into what they want. But personally, when I'm cutting my own, I do have a little bit of I like a little bit of a thicker steak, because I'm a medium rare or slightly less on those things. So I find that to be able to get a good sear on the outside, that it needs to be a little thicker. But yeah, that's another good thing about cutting your own, is you can do whatever you want. You know, if you want thin ones or thick ones or whatever. If you want to make prime ribs, even, you know, because that's basically just a couple of ribeyes, you know, couple of thicknesses of ribeyes, and you got your own prime rib. So there's a ton of things that you can do and customize that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. and like you were saying, you know, if you do the work yourself, you know, you can save money. And I always bring it up, you know, on the barbecue competition barbecue side, ribs. in particular, because we all, for the competitions, we all cook St. Louis style ribs, and we'd be all shopping, and everyone's buying the St. Louis cuts, and I got a cart full of full spares. Like, what are you doing? I go, it's the same thing. And they're like, what? I go, trust me. I go, you pay yours, and I'm going to pay mine. Then we go back to the house. I'm like, okay, there's yours. Yours are ready to go. I have to do a little
has
work.
one set of ribs.
Yeah. Right. So I open it up. I find the tip of that longest bone. And I kind of, okay, and just take my knife and whoop, straight across. Guess what? I just saved myself $10, because I spent $10 to $13 for that rack, and the St. Louis cut ones already done were $20 to $23. I go, so a little knife movement, a slight foot and a half of movement of your arm just saved $10. Now add that up to cooking 3, 4, 5, 6 racks at a thing. There's $60. That's a pork butt to get the money muscle. It's that constant, like you said, but just that. But I always bring it back to that of St. Louis cut starts as a full spare, believe it or not, and then they can add to the price tag.
Absolutely.
But this brings up another great question that I've always had. I'm not going to name the grocery store, but it's a local grocery store here in the Northeast. And I always keep an eye out for their sales. A couple times a year, they have full bone-in pork butts for 99 cents a pound.
Mm-hmm.
So I go up there to get it because I'll buy the pork butts, especially at 99 cents a pound, to get the money muscle end for competitions. And the rest of it I cook here at the house. Every time I go up there, they're on the shelf with the sign, whole bone-in pork butt. And it's cut in half. And they package up the bone-in end. So if I have to go to the meat counter and go, hey, the bone-in pork butts, I go, where can I find them? Oh, right behind you on the shelf. No, the whole ones.
Yeah.
Before when you take them out of the case, because that's what you're advertising. I know that, you know that, so let's do our little dance. And how many are you willing to give me? Is there a reason the grocery stores do that? Or because obviously I'm going to assume they'll take the other half, use it if they, make their own sausage or cut it into pork steaks, different things like that. But is that just a thing they're banking on, no one really knowing, quote unquote, what a whole bone-in pork butt is?
Yeah, I would say also they're probably doing that because it's a little intimidating for the regular person who's just coming there to get a deal on something and not using it for a specific purpose. They're using it for anything. And it's probably like they find that whole pork butt doesn't move quite as much because somebody's coming in there trying to just do their regular grocery shopping, and they don't have any use for that much meat. So that's something that I would assume is happening. Again, I haven't seen that in my area, but that's what I assume.
Yeah. Okay. Because I always get a kick out of it every time the sale comes up. It's go to the counter, talk to the guy, do the old song and dance. How many can you give me? Because I'm going to take what you can give me, and I'm going to send my wife in to ask you the same question in about 10 minutes. But no, I was always wondering, I'm like, it's just interesting. I understand, the other uses for it because, a grocery store is a business. So they're trying to maximize their profits on everything they can, so
and something like that is, and something like that is a loss leader. They're just trying to get you in the door so you buy all of your groceries there. They do the same thing with prime ribs at Christmas time. Like you get the really cheap deal. They're really $6.99, $7.99, something like prime ribs. And I'm the same way. I'm stocking up on those. I think I might still have a couple in the freezer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm on the verge of adding another freezer. I think. I hope my wife ain't listening to this one. But we might have to move some stuff around in the garage.
I always joke around that my YouTube channel is interesting because I will every once in a while I will try to put out. I did a lot earlier. I tried to do more recipes because again, my background is mostly in restaurants, culinary, that kind of deal. And no one will watch a cooking video from me, but they only want to watch the butchery video. So I end up just with freezers full of meat. And my family probably doesn't want to see another cut of beef ever again because this is like, what are we having for dinner tonight? Well, I cut a strip today. I guess we're having New York strips, kind of thing. Yep. So, it's just interesting.
No, absolutely. The Moose Barbecue, what's up, brother? Mad Max, call you out, son. But all right, Brad, let's get into this. Like I said before, folks, I love cookbooks. And we are here to talk. Well, actually, before I show everybody this special little goodie right here, how did, what you're doing in your YouTube channel, how did writing a book come up in the everyday of, planning this video, planning that video? How did somebody even, or was it on your own, come up with, I want to write a book?
Yeah, it was just funny. I just got a email from a publisher, from the publisher we went with, and they goes, "Have you ever thought about writing a cookbook?" And I was like, I guess, it's always kind of in your mind, of things that would be cool. And I was in a season of my life and my YouTube channel where I'm like, I'm just going to say yes to things as fun experiences. And I was like, hey, yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun. And so I had an idea already bouncing around in my head about how I would structure the book. And then they loved it, greenlit it, and we were off to the races. So it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, though. I really did underestimate the amount of work that goes into a cookbook. And you look at them, you look at your shelf full of cookbooks and you're like, oh, that represents just, it took us a good solid year of working on it to get it done. And it was like, it was a labor of love, but it's a bear. It really is. But I'm glad you enjoyed it because we put a lot of work into it.
No, absolutely. Like I said, the amount of work that goes in, I've spoken with a lot of folks in cookbooks, and also, a good friend of mine, he did a cookbook, and when we were talking about it, he's like, nope, never again. He goes, I did it once. I did it. There was so much work. Johnny, I will never do another book. He's currently working on number 5 right now.
Yeah. I think it's like having kids where you're like, okay, never again. This was really hard to do all this stuff. And then you're like, you got to get it far enough along to forget about it, how much work it was. And then you do it again, I guess. I don't know.
No, absolutely. But yeah, he goes, never again. Yeah. Last we talked, he was working on book number 5.
I know. I'm still not there yet. I haven't. It hasn't been long enough for me to forget yet. So I'm.
Leave a little sticky note here and there, saying, "Remember, remember what went into this." Chef Johnny, what's happening, sir? So here we go. The Primal Cuts Cookbook, a butcher's guide to selecting, preparing, and perfecting beef. I like that it is first and foremost beef. That it is, you're dealing with one section of the store. Okay, your ingredients and that goes with anything. But, you focused on beef. You focused on the cow, the different cuts, and the way you structured the book, is fantastic. The rest we'll jump to the recipe section first. You thought enough in the preparation of the book that you broke all the recipes into sections by the cuts. So you have chuck recipes, brisket recipes, ribs, short plate, short loin, sirloin, flank steak, round recipes, shank, ground beef. You went further enough to separate them. So, for like I said, this is a great book for beginners and the veterans alike. So if you're a beginner, okay, am I going to get into the short loins or, the brisket? Oh, brisket. Wait, ground beef. That's hamburger. Okay, let's start there. So my hat's off to you. And what was your thought on that of literally categorizing the recipes by cut?
Yeah, I really thought I didn't ever see that it had been done like this. Usually your cookbooks are either breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or entrees and appetizers. That's kind of the chapters. I thought this one would be since my channel is all about breaking down meat. I thought let's do one chapter for all of the primal cuts. So hence the name Primal Cuts. So in the chuck chapter, I show you how to break down the chuck, and then all the cuts you get from that or from that piece of meat, and then each recipe uses the meat from that chapter. So I thought it would just be easy for people to kind of understand of like, okay, if I get this cut, I kind of go to this chapter, I can try this thing with it. Even though I do talk about in the book too about different substitutions you can make for the recipes. Because you can use different cuts of meat for any of these different kinds of recipes. So I just thought, like, I'd never seen it done like that. And I thought it would be the easiest way for people to put in their mind where these pieces of meat actually come from.
Yep. And, with bringing, where each piece comes from, I know it's in the beginning, but you actually put a little picture. Well, there it is, page 17, getting to the meat of the matter. And you literally put, let's see, there it is, the picture of, okay, the round is from this end, the chuck is the shoulder, the rib, flank, shank, so when you have the guide right there of, later on in a recipe, you're looking at the shank portion of beef. Okay, the thigh, if you will, okay, you get the visual at the beginning to work with the words throughout, so that was fantastic.
Yeah, and in where we talk about like tenderness and flavor, the different structures of muscles, it's interesting because you can just by that diagram of the cow or the beef, you can really see or think of where the tender cuts are and where the more flavorful cuts are. So it's just that one little graphic is great. Is just because you can tell like a round is a tougher cut of meat. The old adage is the most tender cuts of meat are furthest away from the hoof and the horn. So you can kind of use that and visualize where your tender or tough cuts of meat are.
No, absolutely. LC, what's up, brother? Cooking with Steven and Jacqueline. Brother Steven joining us all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Brother, we're getting some of your heat up here tomorrow, man. And I'm not liking it too early for a big boy. But it was coming regardless. But hope everything is well down there, Steven. Thank you, brother. But yeah, that little picture speaks, damn lighting, speaks volumes, for understanding, how a cow is breaking down, like you said, the flavor versus tenderness. Does the cow's diet matter? Which was very interested between the grass fed, grain fed, and like I said, you put it down very simple. Now, do you personally have a preference of grass fed versus grain fed?
You
Because
know,
I really don't, but I know some people go, "Oh man, you can tell, it night and day from the grass fed and grain fed." I'm like, yeah, unless your palate's a little more sensitive, I suppose. I go, beef to me. I go, just put it on the plate and let's go.
yeah. I really don't have. I think I eat more of grain fed beef. I don't seek out specifically grass fed beef. I don't have anything against it or anything like that. But there is a definite difference. You can, all the cuts are smaller because the cow is it's a
Yeah.
smaller, what it eats. You can go to if you have a Costco business center. This is the only place I've found primal cuts or subprimal cuts that are grass fed, and you'll notice that they're half the size.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think people can kind of do with what they want, and most of the places that I go to, it's mainly grain fed beef.
Yep. Then you have a nice little section, and like I said, they're small sections, but they're to the point and very concise. The aging process. You can talk to anybody, we'll have conversations for hours on end about aging. You literally broke it down to a single page of all the information you need on aging.
It definitely was a difficult what to put in and what not to put in.
Yeah.
That was another thing we had to go through of we kind of had an outline of what we wanted to talk about. And so my wife wrote the whole book, basically wrote the book. We would talk and have a conversation, and she would kind of make my ramblings actually sound good and write it all out. But again, we had to kind of go, I would just keep talking and talking. She goes, "Oh, we got to cut this little section down, make it." And she was the guiding force on that of okay, make it concise, make it easy, because you're not just talking to the person who's really into this. You're talking to, it could be anyone, and they're just casually wanting to learn more about beef. And then, it has to be available for the super beginner and have stuff in there for the more advanced people.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Brad, I just need to stop for one quick second here. Chef Johnny with a little update for everybody. Quick update, folks. Haley is out of surgery. All went well. She is having a CT scan now, then to her room. Everything looks good. Thank you for all the prayers. Oh, that's great news, Chef. That is great news, sir. Thank you for the update on that. We've all been worried with the procedure coming up today. And we had talked about it earlier, but you have a section on where to shop, and you break down the grocery stores, the wholesale clubs, butcher shops, local farms, online retailers. Then you get into the butchery essentials, which yes. You start with the butchery skills, removing surface fat, removing the silver skin, separating muscle groups. You're breaking it all down, explaining the butterflying procedure, portioning, grinding, trussing. But then the most important part, you get into the butchery tools and the knives. And yes, folks, and I was there too. So I am as guilty as anybody. When I first got into it, I knew a sharp knife is a good knife. A sharp knife is a safe knife. But it was just grab whatever knife. No, not exactly, not always. You break it down into the different knives for the different jobs, a breaking knife, a boning knife, and explaining how to use them. The breaking knife more so of the cutting and everything, but like a boning for the more intricate slicing and removing of a particular muscle area. And then you get to maybe the most important of this section, the knife maintenance 101. The cleaning process, sharpening, honing, you, and then you get to the cutting boards, grinders, then into culinary essentials, the seasonings, flavorings, cast iron, and then at chapter 4 is when you start into the recipes. But those are some of the things there that I see missing in a lot of books. The explanation of the tools you're going to use for that. Now, obviously, with butchering, those are the tools of trade. You need them, and you need them top notch in order to do what you do. So putting those in the book, thank you, and um and yeah, like I said, I don't ever recall seeing it in other books that I have shelved upon shelves, and there's guys who put like my friend I was speaking of, he put charcoal configurations for cooking a certain way on a kettle or an offset, or different ways you can set up your charcoal for different zones and things. But getting into the knives and the tools, because a lot of them kind of pass over it, brush right by it, figuring, all right, you're buying cookbooks, you're cooking, you got knives, you got pans, you got skillets, you got this. They automatically assume. But like I said, this book, Brad, you literally cover the beginner to the veteran. And if you thought of that, or if it was just all natural and that's just how it flowed. But, like I said, you covered it. And folks, like I said, get this book. I promise you, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And like I said, now, though, every time I have an author on, what would be, because here we go, here's the question. It's like picking your favorite child. What is your favorite recipe in the book?
Yeah, for the full, that's a good question. It is like picking your favorite kid, but I really like one of my favorite recipes, because I learned it very early in my career, was the steak au poivre, which is the strip steak with the brandy green peppercorn sauce on it. That's a really good recipe, and it was one of the first ones that I wrote down on my list. That's probably one of my favorites. First, the sauces, like the chimichurri sauce. We've kind of really fallen in love with that at my house. We'll make it once a week, once every other week. It's parsley and cilantro and lime and garlic, and it's just very fresh for especially for a cut of meat, a grilled cut of meat. It just can't be beat. I make the beef jerky a lot, just for a regular kind of recipe. I make that beef jerky.
Mm-hmm.
At least once a month. I'm doing it. But yeah, those are some of my favorites that stand out.
Oh, beautiful. But yeah, the now who did your photography for you?
Yeah, that was my wife, actually. She did all the
photography. Oh, really?
Yep. It was a very home affair. So we would we'd do about 4 or 5 recipes a day. Sometimes we'd try to do more, but I would talk about it, I would cook it, and then we'd take a picture of it. And we got a pretty good system down by the end of it. But yeah, she took the pictures and did all the styling, and it turned out better than I could have expected. Better than if I took the pictures, definitely.
Yeah, and I just happened to open up to this one, but this is the picanha over open fire. Let me see if I can. I got to stand up to see if this is in focus. If I'm even doing it justice. Nah, not really doing it justice with the lighting. But oh shit, there we go. But no, the photography is fantastic. You know, the colors you use with it, pop. You know,
it is very difficult, but she will be the first one to tell me about it. But it's like everything, when you're doing a cookbook all about beef, it has unique challenges, and the biggest challenge is that all these cuts of meat, once they are cooked, look very, very similar, very the same color. So it's I don't know how she did what she did, but she made them all look different, and that was a big challenge that I didn't even think about when I'm, of course, coming up with a crazy idea to make an all beef cookbook.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but like one recipe right here in particular, literally shows the thought of exactly what you're saying, and it's the beef stroganoff picture. And here we go. We're going to try this again, but you can see the contrast of that. The sauce is not fully mixed, so you have the contrast of the pasta on the edges. The grayish, whitish plate, the pasta color around the edge, followed by the stroganoff sauce. It's given it those layers of visibility. You can see the different things, but no, they're and the chopped steak salad.
I know it's hard to believe. I put some salads in there too.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Trying to get everything. There are some vegetables in there.
Yeah, no, 100%. But no, the sandwiches, the beef jerky, Thor's hammer, a traditional spaghetti and meatball, lasagna. The recipes are kind of a little bit everywhere, but all in the same ballpark at the same time because it is all beef.
Yeah, and you're trying to because it's one ingredient cookbook, you're really trying to show just the differences or how far you can take it. So you can cook everything with beef. And I know the ground beef chapter 2 has a lot of it's in other chapters too, but has a lot of just the home style recipes that I actually make at home. Because I wanted to be a combination of not just like the brandy green peppercorn sauce and the strip, the steak au poivre. I wanted to be like some restaurant style, restaurant quality stuff, but also just some everyday, just good recipes that I make myself for my kids.
Yep. And as we get in a little towards the end here, you got the homemade fries, and this sounds absolutely incredible, the roasted garlic potato salad.
That's a really good recipe.
All right.
Some of these things I'm like, oh yeah, that's in there too. I forgot about that one, but that's a good one.
All right, I gotta put you on the spot here on potato salad.
Okay.
The one main ingredient other than potato. What brand are you on mayonnaise?
Oh, what brand of mayonnaise? Oh, see,
be careful.
It is because I'm actually living in South Carolina. I live in South Carolina, so that is a Duke's Mayo part of the world. I'm actually from Oklahoma originally, so I don't even think we had a Mayo of the state. So I don't know. So I've always been kind of open to all Mayos, equal opportunity Mayo.
No, absolutely. We are up here in the Northeast. We were always, the Hellmans and the Kraft, and then once I got into this crazy world, I was introduced to Duke's, and yes, I am a Duke's guy for sure. But that blue plate out of Louisiana, it's right up there also. I won't kick it out of bed. We'll put it that way. You know. But then also you have another section near the end here. Stock, sauces, and other essentials. So, you have a beef stock. You have the process of making of beef tallow, a mushroom demi glaze, a hollandaise, a béarnaise, a primal steak sauce, horseradish sauce, compound butter, chimichurri, a salsa. Anything. You covered the gauntlet. You really did. From picking the protein from the beginning to everything in the thing. You have a section in the book. So the book is literally one-stop shop for
thank you.
For each dish.
That's really what we wanted to do, was just make a book that was, you can just take this book and just go crazy with it. I'm a culinary teacher by heart, by trade. So it's just like, and when I was putting these things in, it's all stuff that I've learned over the years, perfected over the years. So, it's just it was great to get it all into one place. Even if no one ever bought it, it was still going to be good to get it made and get it into one place, to always have.
Yep. And brother Steven, thank you. He's got Brad's link to the YouTube channel and the Amazon link for the cookbook itself. Steven is the best mod on YouTube. I swear to God. He had it up there before I even got to ask the question. But like I said, Brad, you nailed this 1,000%. And like I said, beginner to veteran. The recipes are simple, to the point, easy to follow. The pictures, hats off to your wife for me. The photography is fantastic. Like I said, everything. Wait a minute. Did I just see what I thought how did I miss this? Italian wedding soup, Brad? Really? How the hell did I miss that? That is my favorite soup of all time.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's one of my kids' favorite soups. When it gets colder on here, we're making that a lot with the Italian wedding soup.
Oh, awesome. I don't know how I missed that. Damn it. That's good to know. That's getting a sticky note for later. I don't care if tomorrow's going to be 90. I know what we're doing this weekend.
I know, we're getting out of soup weather now, aren't we?
Right? Oh, but no, like you said, you nailed it. You hit it. Now, like we had said earlier, the difficulty in writing a book. Did you run into or have a little stack somewhere, tucked in the drawer that didn't make it? In the book, recipe wise.
I think most of the things made it in there because, we needed to get, we ended up with I don't know, almost 100, like 98. And they're like, okay, we got to find 2 more things so we can make it 100 recipes. Yeah. But, it really was a challenge to come up with things because you wanted them different enough that, we could have done a steak with 100 different sauces and that could have been, individual recipes, but trying to make them using different cuts of meat, different cooking methods, different ingredients, different cultures, different, I wanted to make them different enough. And you know what? I think we got all that we really wanted in there. So
no,
that's I don't know if there's going to be a part 2 for beef because
that's kind of where I was leaning towards that. I don't know. You already have a spot.
I don't know if I can come up with another 100 recipes for beef. I don't know. It would be really tough then.
No. Absolutely. Oh, but Brad, thank you so much, man. You've been so generous with your time. And like I said, folks, Primal Cuts Cookbook, a butcher's guide to selecting, preparing, and perfecting beef. Get it. it covers A to Z, 1 to a million, anything beginner to veteran. It's all in this book. Fantastic. I don't know what else to say about it. Order it. The link's right there. Amazon, like Barnes and Noble, things like that, or even check your local. Are they branching out into some local, kind of mom and pop stores?
Yep, I have a couple of local bookstores in my area that just got it naturally, just ordered it. So yeah, you can find it. Amazon and Barnes and Noble, obviously the best places online or to find it. But yeah, it's out there in local bookstores too. I tried to go into one and take a picture with it, just because I thought it was cool. But
oh yeah,
do that whole thing. But check your local bookstore also.
No, fantastic. Oh. The one thing I had said, and I almost forgot to bring it up, as we were talking about, you breaking everything down into cost-wise. Oddly enough, 3 days ago, your latest video, you came out with, hey, I talked about how this was so much such and such cost effective, but I was wrong. It was so much better, and I just laughed. I go, because that was one of the main questions. And on that video, you really went in deep on the cost and breaking it down from the, a club membership store to the grocery stores to a regular butcher shop. You really broke it down and truly showed that, a little time and effort it is a substantial amount.
It was a lot. Yeah. I think it was $250 for the ribeye, like a savings around about. With that video, what I wanted to show is a lot of times when I do that kind of breakdown of a ribeye, I will say that all the trim and the fat, we'll use it for another thing later, for beef tallow or ground beef. And I realized that I had never shown it or accounted for it in any of my Butcher Mass segments. So I'm like, oh, but that's got a value. So because you don't throw it away. So we add it back into that. And that's why I was kind of good that it was even better than I originally have done it before. So
yeah.
And one other crazy thing, I don't know what's going on with Costco. I know I don't work for Costco, obviously, but I don't know what's going on with them, but for some reason, their prime beef cuts, their primes are like whole ribeyes, whole strips, and tenderloins are very, very reasonably priced. Like the prime whole ribeye in my area is $14.99 a pound. And then, and I did a video on that, videos on that too, where it's like, it's $40 a pound at the only grocery store I could find that had USDA prime. And you can get it for $14.99 if you cut it yourself. So it was like, there is some great savings on specific things to be had out there. You just got to kind of keep poking around, looking around, writing down prices so you know when they drop. And so that was another part of the video, was just that the crazy prices on prime at Costco.
Yeah, no. And brother Steven, you did it again. Brad, I literally said it, and 3 seconds later, the link to that video was right there. Thank you, Steven.
I need a Chef Steven on my lives. I have to do it myself, and I end up just don't even putting it in there at all. And I'm just, I should have put these things. I should have done this. And that's
we already got
awesome.
it. And Chef Johnny, Amazon will have it here tomorrow. So it'll be in Lytle, Texas sometime tomorrow. Attaboy, Chef. Attaboy. But Brad, thank you so much, brother. Success with the book. I know personally what this is. And with everything you said, it rings true. This is your heart and your soul. And you were wonderful enough to put it on the pages for the masses to take in, to learn, to cook, to enjoy. So, sir, thank you for everything you've done.
Well, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me on and talking. I love to talk beef. So I'm always up for a good beef conversation.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But where can everybody find you social media wise?
Yeah, my main place is Butcher Wizard on YouTube, but I'm also on all the Instagram and Facebook, and I think I even have a couple videos on TikTok if that's people's thing. But yeah, I and again, the book is available Amazon and Barnes and Noble and those places, and just come say hi in the watch a video, say hi in the comments, and we go from there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Brad, thank you so much. Give me 1 second. I'm going to close this out and I'll jump right back in with you. Awesome, folks. Incredible gentleman. Wealth of knowledge. Like I said, the book, it covers A to Z, beginner to veteran. It's worth the purchase, worth the read. A lot of great recipes in there. To the point, very easy to follow, and check it out. Absolutely, we're always got plenty to learn, and I learned a bunch from the book, and I'm looking forward to looking. Look at I somehow my dumbass missed the Italian wedding soup. Come on, But no, check it out. Go get it. You will not be disappointed. But thank you all for tuning in. Catch the video on Facebook and YouTube. On YouTube, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. You have all the episodes right there at your fingertips. On audio, wherever audio platform you listen to, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, all of them, we're there. Any questions and comments, please send them to Pit Life BBQ Podcast at gmail.com. Like always, subscribe, like, rate, and review. Hit that share button. Next week, honestly, I have no idea. It's Memorial Day weekend, so we all know how that goes. Folks are busy. So I don't know if there's going to be a show or not. Maybe I will take the weekend off. It is the princess's birthday, turning to big 1-7. So, she's the one who gave me my favorite name. And God knows, especially in this chat, y'all have many different names for me. But she gave me my favorite one of Dad. So we're going to have her birthday. So keep in touch. If you have an idea, maybe if it works out, maybe we'll do a with the comps coming up in a couple of weeks, we'll do a comp checklist kind of thing. How you go about, preparing, checking all your equipment and ingredients and stuff for the comps. Maybe we'll do that. But keep on the social medias, and we'll figure it out if I'm gonna be here or if I'm not. But thank you all for tuning in, and until next week, keep the smoke rolling.